Hi, I'm Steph, and this is Build of the Week. I'm sitting somewhere that should not exist. The backseat of a DeLorean. We all know the DeLorean DMC-12 from Back to the Future. But one man's connection to the car is a bit more personal than that. You see, the DeLorean's iconic fiberglass and stainless steel body comes from Northern Ireland, and DeLorean owner John Doerr is Irish.
I've always been pretty much obsessed with these cars. I don't know, you just get the bug, you know. I didn't buy the car because of Back to the Future. I love the DeLorean. It's a good movie, but you know, the car is what interests me, and it has a lot of history and ties to Ireland, and built in Northern Ireland, and the body panels were built in County Carlow, which is about 20 minutes from where I used to live in Ireland.
Inside, the glimmering steel body of John's DeLorean has now been heavily modified, because when John had kids, he didn't want to give up on his gull-wing two-seat Irish dream car. He wanted to take them along for the ride. So he added 2 more seats, which is amazing considering that that's where a parcel shelf and part of the engine usually go. So how did he do it?
I actually started this about 10 years ago when they were much smaller. I heard and read about the original plans that DeLorean Motor Company had to build a 4-seater DeLorean that they never actually managed to do.
The car John is referring to is the DMC-24, the futuristic gull-wing sedan that never made it past the sketch phase. It was supposed to go into production in 1983, but DeLorean went bankrupt in 1982, and the sedan never happened. That is, until John built his custom DMC-24.
So I thought that was kind of a cool idea, and I thought I'd give it a go. I didn't want to go cutting up a car not knowing if it was possible, so luckily I had the remains of a crashed DeLorean, which was just the bare fiberglass body. So I used that as kind of like the first prototype. So with my friend PJ back home, we basically cut that body up and mocked it up with plywood and put some seats in it, and just to see would it actually fit while giving enough room for suspension and engine and transmission and all that kind of stuff.
How did you fit 2 more seats in them? Because usually there's like a little shelf back there, but there's not 2 seats.
Right. To get enough space to put people back here, it meant basically redesigning the body, putting a different rear suspension in. We actually used a rear subframe and suspension, engine and transmission, all from a Renault Alpine GTA. And then that's a much more compact double wishbone suspension. It doesn't have the original DeLorean trailing arm that comes forward into the passenger compartment. So doing that in combination with moving all of the electronics that usually sit in that area to the back of the car gave enough room. And then it was a matter of just cutting the fiberglass body and making the most of that space available. I'll show you the back seat, because this is really the whole point of the project, right? To be able to bring our kids with us when we go for a drive. So as you can see here, it's a small back seat, but it's pretty similar to what you get with a Porsche 911 or a Porsche 928. And everything you see behind the driver's seat is all custom. So it's all custom fiberglass panels and has been custom reupholstered, and we've fitted seat belts here hidden behind. The spools are sitting behind that panel with the original DMC badge on it. It's a small back seat, but it's...
Can I help?
You want to try and sit in? Absolutely.
Ooh.
Headroom is a little issue, but
I'm sitting in the back seat of a DeLorean. This is not supposed to exist.
So could you drive to California back there, or is it?
Yeah, I'd figure it out.
Yeah?
It's the back seat of a DeLorean. From the outside, this looks like a regular DeLorean. It's the same body, unmodified. The doors didn't even have to be elongated. They were wide enough already. You only notice something's up when you get close enough to notice a head bobbing in the rear window where it shouldn't be. The engine sits just a little further back as well, but the overall driving experience is still very familiar to anyone who's ever driven a DeLorean. I like how this looks like just a natural extension. Is that kind of...
That's. I'm glad you said that, because that was the look I was going for.
It's very comfortable.
Yeah.
You mentioned it took like 10 years. I mean, was it not?
On and off, yeah. So it wasn't a 10-year project start to finish, but it was, like moving to America in the middle of it, obviously set the thing back a lot, so we didn't have...
A little bit.
Just a little, the little matter of emigrating. So what you're looking at here is the Renault Alpine GTA engine from I think it was a 1987 model. Every bit of chassis that you can see here is completely custom built by my friends in Ireland to basically build an interface between a DeLorean style front chassis and the Renault Alpine subframe. So everything at the back of this car, apart from the grey chassis that you can see, is all Renault Alpine bolted up to a custom chassis. And actually, you can see, if you kind of crouch down and look underneath, you can see that a DMC-24 prototype is actually laser cut into the frame at that point. Not something that everybody's going to see every day, but it's, you know, it's another throwback.
Easter egg.
Right.
Yeah.
So you see it when you put the car up on the lift.
What's next? What's left on the to-do list?
There's definitely still a lot of jobs to do cosmetically. So there's a panel here for above the gear stick that I need to do. There's a lot of fiberglass work in the engine bay to cover up, you know, the chassis components and really make it look a bit more stock. Hide some of the wiring, and some of the fiberglass is a bit rough back there that I haven't had a chance to finish it yet. You know, I should, as you can hear, probably add some sound deadening. It's a little loud in here.
Nah.
You know, things like that. But you know, the major things are pretty much done. It's on the road, the seats are in, the kids have seatbelts on, so you know.
This car alone should nominate John for Dad of the Year. We all know dads who think they have to give up on sports car life the second they have kids. Being able to share the cool car with 2 more little ones is clearly the best solution if you have the time and space to do it. So, if you have a small 2-seater you adore, why not just add 2 more seats? It's a much more interesting workaround than just trading it in for dull crossover.